she was just such a like happy person and joyful person and always had the best attitude. Always one who was very adamant about making people feel welcomed.
Photographer Brianna Tucker taking these photos of her friend, 25-year-old Rebekah Brooks. The two on set for photo shoots often, and a friendship blossomed.
An incredible mom, an incredible just person and friend, and just, she never met a stranger. Once I heard, especially how it happened, I was sick.
The Parker County Sheriff's Office says 61-year-old Charles Brooks shot and killed his daughter Rebekah during a dispute on Father's Day. Deputies arrived at the home off Antler Ridge Court just before 10 p.m. Sunday. Rebekah Brooks shot once in the chest. She was later pronounced dead.
He didn't just pick up the gun. He loaded it, chambered a round, then walked toward his daughter. And when it was all over, when the deputies pulled up to that house on Antler Ridge Court, he was the one in the driveway, performing CPR on her. Make it make sense. This is the story of Rebekah Brooks, 25 years old, a mother, a friend, a woman who, by every account, lit up every room she walked into. And she died on Father's Day, shot once in the chest, in her own family's home, by her own father. And the worst part? There are still so many questions that nobody has answered. In every home, behind every closed door, there's a story waiting to be uncovered. Welcome to Dark Whispers, where we dive deep into the hidden truths of domestic crime and the relationships that turn deadly. If you're drawn to real stories, powerful insights, and the shadows most people avoid, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and step into the whispers they never wanted you to hear. Rebekah Brooks was the kind of person people talk about long after they're gone, not because of how she died, but because of how she lived. Her friend, photographer Brianna Tucker, knew her well. The two of them worked together on photo shoots regularly, and over time, what started as a professional connection became something real. Brianna described Rebekah as, and I want you to hear this, such a happy person and joyful person, always had the best attitude, always the one who was very adamant about making people feel welcomed, an incredible mom, an incredible friend, someone who, in Brianna's own words, never met a stranger, and she left behind a young son. Let that sit for a second. A little boy who is now growing up without his mother because of something that happened inside his grandmother's house on a Sunday night. Rebekah was 25. She had her whole life ahead of her, and the people who loved her, the people who knew her laugh, knew her energy, knew what it felt like to be in her presence. They are the ones left behind trying to make sense of a story that, honestly, does not make sense. Period. Now, here is where things get complicated, and I need you to stay with me because the details here matter. Father's Day, June 21st. Somewhere inside that house in Azle, Texas, a fight broke out, a physical fight, between Rebekah and her mother. We do not know what started it. Investigators have not released that information. The Parker County Sheriff's Office brought in the Texas Rangers to take over the case, and as of right now, what led to that initial argument between Rebekah and her mother remains unclear. What we do know is what happened next. Charles Brooks, Rebekah's father, 61 years old, said he heard the altercation and decided to intervene. And the way he chose to intervene is the part of this story that people cannot stop talking about. He went and got a gun. Not just got a gun. He grabbed a 9mm handgun, inserted a loaded magazine, and pulled back the slide to chamber a round. Then he walked toward the room where his daughter and his wife were fighting. Girl. Now, I am not here to tell you what to think about that. I am just here to give you the facts. But I do want you to really think about that sequence of actions for a moment. Because there is a difference between grabbing something in a panic and deliberately loading a weapon before you walk into a room. That is not a split-second decision. That is a series of steps. And at the end of those steps, his daughter was on the ground. According to the account Charles Brooks gave to investigators, including the Texas Rangers who took over the case, he says the gun went off accidentally. He says he was trying to separate the two women when the weapon discharged. Rebekah Brooks was shot once, in the chest. She did not survive. When Parker County Sheriff's deputies arrived at that home just before 10 o'clock that Sunday night, they found a BMW parked in the driveway, driver's side door open, and Charles Brooks was outside, performing CPR on his daughter. Let me tell you something. That image alone is a lot to carry. A father on his knees in the driveway, trying to bring back the child he just shot. Whether it was an accident or not, that is a picture that does not leave you. Emergency responders took over, but Rebekah was later pronounced dead. Charles Brooks did not run. He did not hide. He immediately told the responding deputies that he was the one who shot her, and when the Texas Rangers arrived to conduct a more thorough interview, he gave them the full account: the gun, the magazine, the slide, the fight, the discharge, his words, his version of events. But here is what the affidavit makes clear. He loaded that gun before he ever entered that room, and that one detail is the thing that changed everything, because it shifted this from a tragic accident into a criminal charge. Charles Brooks was arrested and charged with murder. His bond was set at $2 million. And somewhere in all of this, through the sirens and the statements and the sheriff's deputies on the scene, Rebekah's little boy lost his mother on Father's Day, moving on, because we have to, but never forgetting that. The Parker County Sheriff's Office did not sit on this case. From the moment deputies arrived on that scene, the wheels were already turning. Charles Brooks had given his account. The scene had been documented. And very quickly, law enforcement made a decision that told you everything about how seriously they were taking this. They handed it over to the Texas Rangers. Now, for those who don't know, the Texas Rangers are not your everyday local investigators. They are called in when a case is complex, high profile, or when local agencies want to make sure nothing is missed. So when Parker County said, "We are bringing in the Rangers," that was a statement. And what the Rangers found when they sat down with Charles Brooks and went through his account step by step is what ultimately shaped the direction of this entire case. Because here is the thing about Charles Brooks's story. On the surface, it sounds like a tragedy. A father who panicked. A family situation that got out of hand. A gun that went off when it wasn't supposed to. And maybe that is exactly what it was. But the affidavit tells a very specific story. It says he grabbed the handgun, inserted a loaded magazine, pulled back and released the slide to load a bullet into the chamber, and then went to break up the fight. That is not a man who grabbed the nearest object in a moment of blind panic. That is a man who made a deliberate, sequential decision to arm himself before entering a domestic dispute. And under Texas law, that sequence of actions is the difference between a tragedy and a crime. So, what were investigators still trying to figure out? Quite a bit, actually. What started the fight between Rebekah and her mother in the first place? That had not been released. What was the nature of their relationship? Was this an ongoing conflict or something that erupted out of nowhere that night? Nobody was saying. And perhaps most importantly, where was the mother in all of this? Think about that. There were 3 people in that house. A fight broke out between 2 of them. A gun went off. 1 person died. 1 person was arrested. And the 3rd person, the one the whole thing supposedly started with, has been almost entirely absent from every report. Her name has not been released. Her account has not been made public. She has not spoken to any press. Anyways, investigators were not done. The Texas Rangers were conducting interviews, pulling threads, and building a picture of what really happened inside that house on Father's Day night. The community in Azle was shaken. Neighbors told reporters they were shocked that a shooting would happen at this particular family's home. That detail right there, this family's home, suggests that nothing about this household previously screamed danger to the people living nearby, which makes it hit even harder. Because sometimes the most devastating things happen in the most ordinary-looking places. A neighborhood in Azle, a house on Antler Ridge Court, a Father's Day that ended with deputies, crime scene tape, and a young woman who never made it to Monday morning.
The Parker County Sheriff's Office says 61-year-old Charles Brooks shot and killed his daughter Rebekah during a dispute on Father's Day. Deputies arrived at the home off Antler Ridge Court just before 10 p.m. Sunday. Rebekah Brooks shot once in the chest. She was later pronounced dead. Investigators say Charles Brooks immediately admitted to responding deputies he shot his daughter. Once the Texas Rangers took over, Charles Brooks provided his account. According to an affidavit, he said his wife and daughter were in a fight inside the house in the entryway, and he intervened, trying to separate the two women. Brooks said, quote, he grabbed the 9mm handgun, inserted a loaded magazine, and pulled back and released the slide to load a bullet into the chamber of the gun before going over to attempt to break up the fight between them when the gun went off. Charles Brooks, charged with murder, still in the Parker County Jail with a bond set at $2 million. Friends tell Fox 4 News Rebekah leaves behind a young son.
Praying for her family, and her little boy.
Charles Brooks was taken into custody without resistance. He was charged with murder, not manslaughter, not negligent homicide. Murder. And that charge carries weight. It signals that the Parker County Sheriff's Office, after reviewing his account and the evidence on scene, believed there was enough to pursue the most serious charge available to them. His bond was set at $2 million. As of the last reports, he remained in the Parker County Jail. Now, the courtroom portion of this story is still unfolding. This case was fresh. The Rangers were still conducting interviews, and prosecutors had not yet laid out their full hand. But what we already know from the affidavit is the foundation of what they will likely argue: that he chose to load a weapon, that he chose to chamber a round, that he chose to walk toward two women in the middle of a physical fight, with a loaded, chambered, ready-to-fire gun in his hand, and his daughter paid for that choice with her life. His defense, presumably, will rest on that word, accidentally, that the gun discharged on its own during the struggle, that he never intended to shoot Rebekah, that this was a father trying to protect his family, not harm it. And honestly, a jury will have to sit with all of that. They will have to look at the sequence of steps he took to prepare that weapon. They will have to weigh his words against the physical evidence. They will have to decide whether the act of loading and chambering a round before entering a room full of conflict is consistent with the story of an accident. That is not a simple thing to sit with. Oh, so now a loaded gun is a peacekeeping tool? I said what I said. But hey, the courts will decide, and whatever decision comes out of that courtroom, it will not bring Rebekah back. It will not give her son his mother. It will not undo a single second of that Father's Day night. What it will do, hopefully, is give some kind of answer to a community and to a little boy who deserve at least that much. There is a little boy out there who is going to grow up hearing his mother's name, and I genuinely hope, that the people who loved Rebekah Brooks make sure he hears it often, that they tell him about the way she walked into a room and made everyone feel like they belonged, that they show him the photographs Brianna Tucker took of her, the ones that caught her light, her joy, the version of her that existed before any of this, that they remind him again and again that his mother was an incredible mom. Not just a woman who died too soon, but a woman who lived with her whole chest while she was here. Because Rebekah deserves to be remembered for how she lived, not just for how she was taken. She was 25 years old, a mother, a friend, a woman whose photographer said she never met a stranger, a woman whose presence, by every account, made the people around her feel something good. And she is gone, shot once in the chest, on Father's Day, inside her own family's home. Let me tell you something. This case is going to stay with a lot of people for a long time, not just because of the loss of Rebekah, as devastating as that is, but because of the questions it raises about what we do when conflict comes knocking inside our own homes, about what it means to intervene, about the decisions we make in the heat of a moment, and the consequences that cannot be undone once they are set in motion. A gun is not a de-escalation tool. It never has been. And when you introduce a loaded, chambered weapon into the middle of an already volatile situation, you are not calming anything down. You are adding fuel to a fire that was already burning. That is not an accusation. That is just the truth of what the evidence shows us. Charles Brooks walked into that room with a weapon he had prepared himself. And his daughter, his child, is the one who paid the price. Like, what was the plan? What was the actual plan walking in there? I am not asking to be cruel. I am asking because someone needs to ask it. Because Rebekah's son deserves for someone to ask it. The community in Azle is grieving. Brianna Tucker is grieving. Everyone who knew Rebekah's laugh, her warmth, her face. They are all sitting with a loss that does not have clean edges. There is no version of this story that wraps up neatly. There is no ending here that feels like justice enough. What there is a little boy, and a community, and a channel full of people watching this right now who know, deep in their chest, that Rebekah Brooks deserved better than the night she got. Girl, she deserved so much better. Rest easy, Rebekah. And to everyone watching, if you are in a household where things have been escalating, where fights have been getting louder and more frequent, where the tension never fully goes away, please reach out before it reaches a point of no return. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. It is confidential. It is free. And it is there for exactly the kind of moments that feel impossible to talk about. Because this story did not have to end this way, and the next one does not either. Dark whispers. We tell the stories that need to be told,